Hey there, savvy home buyers and sellers. This is Jeff O'Leary, the Village Guru. And in this episode, we're going to talk about shifting markets. And more importantly, I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to deal whether you're a buyer or seller in a market where prices are in flux. You're not going to want to miss this episode, so let's go. So today we're here to talk about how to deal whether you're a buyer or seller in a changing market. Now, I've been in the real estate industry for close to 15 years, and I think I've seen this type of cycle come through at least 3 or 4 times now. So I'm kind of familiar with how things tend to play out. So at first, there's this disbelief that the market's ever going to slow down. Although we know historically real estate markets are cyclical and they do have ups and downs, even though over the long term, the prices tend to go up. So first there's the belief that it's never going to happen to the depression of, oh my gosh, it did happen. And sometimes what ends up happening is people start to pull back even more than maybe they should and miss opportunities that they could possibly get just because they start to try to time the market, even though if they time the market properly, they would have predicted this already a year ago. And what ends up happening is they miss out and they actually wait until the market starts to kick back up. So in today's episode, I'm not really going to talk about the factors that go into causing market cycles. We can address that in a different video, but today I want to give you 3 tips on how to deal with it, whether you're a buyer or seller. So let's go. All right, so for tip number 1, is understanding that not all areas are created equal when it comes to a market adjustment. So when we're in a hot market, you'll notice that almost every house starts to go up in price, whether it's the beautiful, completely done, custom home, or the shack on the side of the road. Because when the market gets really hot, buyers start to think, if I don't buy now, there's never going to be a home in the future. And they're also competing to try and get in before they're priced out, which causes the lower end properties. And when I mean lower end, it not necessarily price, but just homes that maybe are selling for more than you'd think based on condition and decor. So they tend to get lifted up in these type of markets. However, the opposite happens in a slower market. So the premium neighborhoods still tend to hold their value a little better with the amenities, the in-demand areas, while the properties that maybe are located on the main street or not in a desirable area for whatever reason, they tend to slow down and go back to a baseline where maybe they should be. So when you're doing your search, make sure you understand the different factors of the neighborhoods, not only just how the house looks, but the future development potential of the area, what has been going on in the past, because that'll tell you whether that neighborhood should be holding value better than maybe a less desirable area. Now, if you're a seller, and I say this a lot of times, you have to put the effort into properly presenting and marketing your home in order to attract the most amount of buyers. So when buyers feel like they're not under pressure to buy, they become more picky by nature. So you need to show them the best product you possibly can. And if you do so, you're still going to get the good results that you're looking for. Next, let's go over tip number 2, which is know your numbers. It's not just good enough to say, well, the house down the street sold for X amount 3 months ago, because in an adjusting market, prices can actually start to fall. That means you have to understand, okay, how much did the market either go up or down, and you need to adjust comparable sales that happened in the past to today's standard, and then come up with a value range on the low end and the high end of what a home like this should sell for in the current market. Then when you actually go to see the house, when you look at the condition, the decor, you can decide as an informed buyer or seller where your home should be following in on that line. And that's really how we do it. Now, there's a number of tools to do this. You can not only do you look at comparable sales out of the MLS, but you can look at tax roll records. You can look at other research, market updates, statistics in order to come up with a clear picture, find out what's going on for the type of home that your subject property is and in the area that it is. Keep in mind that real estate is still local, even though we do have national trends, and that you've got to be aware that some areas might not be doing what other areas are doing in terms of price growth or price depreciation. So make sure you know your numbers, because I want you to win at this real estate game. Which leads me to tip number 3, and that is your calculator is your best friend if you're looking to buy or sell a home in a changing market. A lot of times when you go to the news, it's actually way worse than what's actually going on the street. Even if there is a slowdown, people are always buying and selling, and there's always opportunities out there in the market, whether you are a buyer or a seller. The problem is if you rely on the mainstream media to tell you what's going on, well, number one, they never predicted it 6 months ago. But number two is they're there to get clicks. They're there to sell newspapers or to get viewership. They know what works to get attention, and it's doom and gloom and negative scenarios because that's what people tend to gravitate towards. So if you're in this market, crunch your numbers. You might be surprised that things might not look the way you're hearing on the news. In fact, in a second, I'm going to show you an example of how certain buyers in this market are actually poised to do better than if they bought in the really hot market. So let's get right into that. All right, so here we are looking at my computer blackboard, and I'm going to use this to show you how in this market, some buyers are poised to do really well. And for this example, we're going to talk about move-up buyers. Now, a move-up buyer means they currently own a home and they currently have equity in the home. So for this example, let's say our clients currently owe $200,000 on their mortgage. Now, back in January of this year, they talked to a realtor and they got a ballpark price that their house was worth $800,000. Now, at the same time in January, they were searching online and they did find their dream home. It had extra bedrooms, a double-car garage, had a pool in the backyard, so they could have barbecues in the summer. It was just a really great place. And that price came in at the time at $1.2 million. So if they were to go ahead and buy that house at the time, you're looking at $400,000 in additional price, plus their balance of $200,000 owing, for a grand total of a new mortgage of approximately $600,000. Now, if they went ahead and got a 25-year mortgage with a 5-year fixed rate of 3%, their monthly payments would have come in at $2,840 per month. Now, let's use the scenario that the housing prices have gone down, and let's say they've gone down 15%. Now, I'm not saying that house prices have gone down 15%. Different markets have been different, but for this example, they're in the same town, and this is what happened. So right away, obviously, like a lot of people, they're not happy. So they're looking at their house that they thought was worth $800,000, and now they're probably looking at around $680,000 on the sale of their house. However, on the bright side is that this larger house also went down in price. So if we drop 15%, the new price is about $1,020,000, which means the difference is $340,000 plus $200 means their new mortgage is $540,000 as opposed to $600. So right away, they've saved $60,000 simply for buying the house now. That's good news, right? Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, but Jeff, interest rates are higher, and I agree. In fact, I just looked at a mortgage calculator, and right now, let's say they did this purchase, their new interest rate is probably around 5.2%, which means that their new mortgage payment would be about $3,202 a month, which means their carrying costs for interest and mortgage would have gone up about $363 a month. So obviously, more expensive to carry this house. However, it would literally take 15 years in order to eat into this savings that they made purchasing the price cheaper over here. So it's still a win. In fact, markets don't correct for 15 years, especially when they continue to grow and people continue to move in the market. So they've set themselves up really good by purchasing for much cheaper, and they have the upside when the market does rebound that they'll be able to gain the equity that will come from the swing back in the market. So there's an example of how somebody can save a lot of money right now if they're moving up, provided that they have equity, and actually do better in this market when everybody else is sitting on the sidelines, not very happy. But we do have winners in real estate because there always are people winning. Anyway, I hope you like this example. Well, I hope you enjoyed this example of how move-up buyers can actually benefit in a market like this. However, in order to understand that, you do need to take the time to crunch the numbers and to understand what's truly going on. At the end of the day, there's always opportunity in real estate. It's just about identifying it and doing the proper research and being prepared in order to take advantage of whatever it is, your goals that you want to accomplish. Well, there you have it. I'm Jeff O'Leary, the Village Guru. If you have any questions about real estate, always feel free to call or email. Have yourself a great day.